Hi, this is Dennis from Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to take on an older one. It's actually one of the first bait casting reels that I purchased. That goes back 30 years or so. This is not mine. This is a Mag Force. It's the Daiwa Procaster, the PMA15S. This one's still going. Mine unfortunately broke, and I didn't have the parts to repair it. We're missing a side plate decal here, which kind of hides the spool piece. But other than that, this is your mag adjuster. And we're going to take this reel apart. We'll show you how to service it, and we'll keep it going. This one belongs to John, and we'll make sure John keeps this one fishing again. I noticed a couple of things. It's making a little noise, which means that it needs a little bit of oil and some TLC. We'll take care of that. Otherwise, it seems like it's operating smoothly, and that the rest shouldn't be much of a problem. So we're going to start by taking off the external pieces. As we do that, I want to thank all of our first responders, essential personnel, all of the folks that are involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. Really do appreciate your efforts day in and day out. You truly are our local hometown heroes. Thank you. All right, there's a C-clip here. This kind of falls off. That's not a very good C-clip, but like everything else on this reel, they're kind of hard to find. So we're just going to have to pinch that one back a little bit. But that's kind of holding the axle shaft on there. This handle has been squeaky, so I'm going to do what they say that happens with squeaky wheels or squeaky gears. Just going to put a little bit of penetrating oil into the slots of the handle and into the studs. I'm just going to let that sit off to the side, and that should be good enough for keeping that one fresh and not binding. All right, I took off the little tension washer. This is a good time to tell you, if you're not working with a schematic, or if it's the first time you're working on a reel, take pictures. Use your camera, cell phone, regular digital camera, video camera, whatever you want to use. Use your camera, and that'll record the sequences that you take the pieces and parts off, and they will help you reinstall in the event that you kind of get stuck along the way on the back end. It'll tell you the orientation of the parts, and it'll tell you how to which ones go where and when. So use your camera. Don't be shy about it. Don't trust your memory. I've done that more times than not, and it's been a problem. Okay, 2 screws hold the side plate on. Then that's your gear side. I'm going to pull the spool out as well. And this is your mag mechanism in the back here. And there is no bearing on the back side of this one. So you don't need to do any kind of servicing here. You can just check to make sure it's clean, and this one's very clean. And if you like, we can just put a little bit of grease into the spool shaft, so that when it anchors into that bearing there, or the bushing, that it anchors properly. All right, put that back in. Make sure that the line doesn't get trapped. This happens when you're working on reels with line. It tends to get trapped. Just get it out of the way to make sure that you're in good condition there. Also, when you go to set these thumb bars, you're going to notice that there's a stud sticking out here, which is going to be the stud bar, the trip for the free spool. And you're going to notice that there's a hole right there, and that's going to need to merge between the two in order for that override to work properly. So make sure that you do that. While I have that gear side off, it's a little bit easier to service the pawl. So I'm going to just hold the gear side here, and we're going to remove the carrier. And I can tell just from the dirt and dust on the carrier, it's been a while since anybody's removed this. So let's go ahead and remove that. I'm going to clean up the outside of that with a paper towel. And just a drop of oil in here should be fine. This was working properly, so I don't think we need to take a look at the forks or anything on that. But if it was bogging down, if you're having a problem where it was sticking to one side or the other, then you would want to pull that pawl, and you would want to make sure that both sides of the forks of the pawl are even, and that they're not getting hung up. Give it a spin, make sure that it's working again. I'm just going to move it to the side because there's a lot of dust and dirt and things in here, and I'm going to give it a quick spray with the penetrating oil. I'm going to use that as a degreaser and a cleaning agent in this case. This isn't for oiling purposes, but as long as we have the reel open, Doesn't hurt to give it a little bit of a cleaning on both sides there and get to the dust and the dirt where you wouldn't normally have the reach or the ability to do that. So if you're going to do a service, take the extra few minutes and do the cleaning on it as well. All right, so that side of the reel is essentially done. And we're going to move over now to the gear side plate. There's 2 screws holding that on. You may need a micro driver. In this case, this Phillips head is in pretty good condition. It's a smaller sized one. I think it's the number 1 size. And I can generally get to a lot of those small screws, but if you have a bigger screwdriver, you may need the micro screwdriver to help you accomplish your ends there. All right, those 2 screws mean that I can usually remove the side plate, just like that. And this is very clean for the age of this reel. Very clean. Take a picture here, just in case you take something off that you probably shouldn't have taken off. Now, we don't need to do much, but we're going to do much because of the way that we're showing this, in case you're servicing one that may be a little bit dirtier. So everything's going into a parts tray. It's the bottom of a jug, and I keep that there just for my ability to find the pieces and parts when it's time to reinstall. All right, we're going to take the main gear off next. There's a little anti-reverse mechanism on this. It's a dog with a fork on it. It's a friction-driven anti-reverse, which was very common at the time. And just note the orientation on that when you go to remove. These are the friction forks that hold the anti-reverse gear. And I want to get the old grease off of that. That's why I've pulled that off. That rides on the back end here. This is a click ratchet. It rides on the back of that. And it gets set just like this. There's a separation there, you can tell. And that will install just like that. And you know you have your orientation right if it looks like this on the back end of that click ratchet. We can pull the rest of this off. We have a flex washer. I just pushed all of that off. We'll go ahead and redo that again. So there's a flex washer and there's a series of tension washers there. And this is your anti-reverse, so we can go ahead and put the stem back on. Well, you want to clean first, of course. Clean that gear shaft off. Put some fresh grease on. After you grease the main shaft, you can come back in, line up your anti-reverse dog. Both have to go on simultaneously, and that's how that seats. Next up, we'll take the yoke out because we want to clean off of that. The yoke has 2 sides on it. If you've come to reinstall and you're having trouble, notice that the one side of the yoke which faces the spool, and the spool's the one that's got the slot in it, but there's 2 ramps on these that are not on the other side. The other side's flat. The other side faces out. You'll also notice that there's a cavity for the springs on the outward facing side. So if you, for some reason, if you've taken this off and you can't get it back on properly, check the orientation on that. Now this one side is longer than the other, so it's kind of hard to mess that up, but in a lot of cases that yoke is the same, and if the yoke is the same, then it is a problem. All right, we're just going to put a little bit of oil onto the moving parts here. Again, this reel is in very clean condition, which is all a good thing, right? All right, we're going to put that yoke assembly back in, and see, there you go, right away I put it on backwards. Only in this case, it can only fit the one way. All right, let's take a look quickly at the main gear. It should only have a single washer in it, if I remember. It does. It's here, and should separate pretty easily. There you go. So this one was stuck on. This is like a leather washer. So we're gonna, first thing we're going to do is clean the metal so that it unsticks, because you won't have a good drag if that's the case. And then again, this is a leather washer here, so we want to use some drag grease on it. I'm going to use Cal's Universal Dry Grease. Now, if you don't have Cal's dry grease, go ahead and use any fishing reel grease. It doesn't have to be a dry grease. Don't go out and buy a whole container just for one washer. Use fishing reel grease. It just protects it. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it lubricated. It keeps it from drying out. And it just, as you've seen here, it keeps it from sticking. While you're doing that, check all of the teeth on the main gear. I have a little washer that goes behind here. Let's go put that on. And then do the same thing here. As we mentioned, if there's anything going on with this reel, it's that it hasn't had grease in a while. So let's make sure that we get that all greased up. You don't have to get it on every tooth. It will work its way around. And then there's a flat side that we need to merge that with. And then we're pretty much ready to go. You can give it a test. Give it a spin, make sure everything's spinning, and then on that anti-reverse, back it up. Make sure that it's pulling itself in, and you can see that the way that the dog is operating there. So this is all cleaned up. What we want to do next is just put those 3 tension washers in. So there's 2 tension washers and a flat washer. The bell washers go on next. They can be opposing. They're not flat. They are concave. And you get the flat washer, and then that's the stack for your drag. So we can put this back on now. Again, you might want to take a time to clean the case. The back side of the case as well. It's all nice and clean here. Good to see. So mine actually broke a piece of plastic in it. It broke the thumb release, and it was impossible to find a replacement part for. It's a shame because I kind of miss it. But times move on. All right, so we're done with the side case. There's the 2. Oops, we're not done with the side plate, and that's why this is such a good idea to have the parts tray, because I didn't put the springs in to the yoke. Just as I was about to grab the screws for this. Now we can put the side plate on. And you want to hold that down now because you do have the springs that are going to push up and off of that. Now there are 2 small screws. Me and small screws don't get along too well. Those of you that watch the channel know that it's probably time to go get a cup of coffee or something, and eventually I will get these screws in where they belong. I'll try a little bit of grease on the outside of my screwdriver to hold it. Yeah, 1 down, 1 to go. Not terrible today. I've had worse days. So if you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. That way you'll see everything that I'm posting, and you can make a choice as to which ones you want to view. If you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, just leave it in the comment section. I do try to respond to all the questions, and if I can help you with a particular problem, I'll try and do that for you, and we'll do our best to keep your reels fishing, or in some cases, if they're broken, give them a second chance. All right, these are the little washer, and then the little C-clip goes next. Not a lot of tension on that C-clip, but unfortunately, that's about what you have. It's just enough. Okay, now we can go ahead and reinstall this. Now remember what I said on the back end of this. There's a little stud here. That stud has got to go into the hole. So as you're aligning this, you kind of have to look a couple of different ways, right? You're looking over the top. You're trying to mesh in the line drive, and then you got to find the hole in the thumb guide, and with any luck it all comes together. We're just short a little bit here. And I think what I need to do here is put the tensioner on and drive this. We don't have a mesh on the line guide drive right now. So let's go ahead and put the star adjuster on. And then when we go to press down on the drag washers, that should drive this, and it should be able to enable me to connect the dots, so to speak. Okay, next up then is the tension washer, then our handle, then there's a little washer that holds that C-clip, and that little C-clip. So that fits in the little slot. I'm having trouble with this rubber glove. Okay, once the C-clip is installed, take your 10mm nut. That goes next. I like to tighten that down by hand as much as I can so that I know that I haven't cross-stripped it. Then you can complete the tightening with a wrench. And generally speaking, if you're perpendicular to the hole, your tie-down cap is going to work on the first shot. And there you go. You can see that the hole is aligned with that. Put that screw in and we'll give it a test drive. Now we had a lot of WD-40 in that handle there. I would expect that the handle works nice. Doesn't have to be WD-40, any threading oil will do. Let's give it a ride. Well, there you go. Nice and smooth, the way I kind of remember them. I'm just going to take a little bit of tension off the spool there. And this is your Daiwa Magforce. Still a nice reel. There's no ball bearings in it to speak of. There is a lot of nice engineering, and this is a nice little flipper reel as I remember. We want to make sure that we have the free spool working. It's working nicely. And there you go. So John, this one's back to you to go take fishing again. Thank you for sharing it. Thanks for bringing the memories back to me of an earlier model that I had. And time to take this one out, give it a second chance. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great day.